how to move to Paraguay and how to get residency in Paraguay. Today I'm going to reveal my proven 10-step system that you must follow if you want to move to Paraguay and obtain residency in Paraguay. Please ensure to watch this entire video to maximize your chances for obtaining residency in Paraguay. Please don't skip any of these 10 steps, because if you do, the chances of you obtaining residency in Paraguay will be greatly diminished. Without further ado, let's get started with step number 1. Determine your eligibility. Not all citizens are able to get residency in Paraguay. Only nationals of countries that have good relations with Paraguay may travel to Paraguay without a visa. This is crucial. We get plenty of applicants and interest from South Asian countries, but for them it's very hard to get an entry permit for Paraguay. And unless you have secured an entry permit, you cannot enter Paraguay and apply for residency. With that being said, getting the entry permit is step number 1. If you want to do this, that's great. Now, if you're from a country that has good relations with Paraguay, we're talking about the European Union, the United States of America, Mexico, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, the UAE. If you're from any of the countries that I just mentioned, you may travel to Paraguay without a visa, making it much easier for you to apply for residency. If you're from an ally country, you don't have to get an entry permit and you can stay in Paraguay for up to 90 days without a visa. But if you are from a country that does not have good relations with Paraguay, then you must obtain an entry permit to travel to Paraguay. You can't just jump on a flight and go to Paraguay. You will be rejected at the airport, at the counter, right at the check-in. You won't get on the plane. Determining visa-free access is just one of the questions that you need to answer. Another important thing is your criminal record certificate. Do you have a clean criminal record? Have you ever been convicted of a crime? Are there any misdemeanors mentioned on your criminal record certificate? Have you committed to anything that still appears on your criminal record? If you did, it totally depends on the magnitude of the crime committed, because in some instances you may request your government to have those entries removed from your criminal record certificate. However, many countries will not scrape any information that is on your criminal record certificate. The FBI makes it very difficult to remove anything from your criminal record, and sometimes if it was something very trivial or like a minor misdemeanor, you may be able to get it removed, but in most cases that is not even possible. There is a really fine line. We had seen some success stories out of Europe where people had something on the criminal record that was entered, say, 10 or 15 years ago, and since it's been a long time, they were able to request that crime from being removed from their record. And we had seen instances where that worked out for people, but in the majority of cases it did not work out. It totally depends on your country of citizenship, their laws, and at what point they may or may not remove any record from your criminal record. Then, of course, child custody. If you are married and let's say your wife and you don't agree on getting residency in Paraguay, or perhaps you have a child and have never gotten married to begin with and you have only partial custody, meaning if you want to bring your child out of the country, you would actually have to get permission from your partner, from the mother of your child or the father of your child. And in this instance, it can be very difficult to get the other person to agree. We had seen instances where that was very difficult. In some cases it may work, but you definitely have to get permission if you want to bring your child out of Canada or the United States. Of course, there's an exception. Let's say your girlfriend or wife travels with you to Paraguay to apply for residency. In this instance, you don't have to get their approval, right? But if you want to take them out alone and maybe the relationship is not good, or you have problems, maybe get sued or something, that can be a tricky thing. So you want to answer this question beforehand. Another super important thing is to ensure you have the sufficient budget. Moving overseas takes money, takes time, takes energy, and let's say you are a working class individual or a middle class individual seeking a new life in a place like Paraguay. You would like to live in the South American country, but you just don't have enough money to move yet. This can be a deal breaker, and you should only move if you have the necessary funds to do so. You need to be able to support yourself. Even though Paraguay does not require economic solvency proof to issue temporary residency, it is very advisable that you move and only move if you have the necessary means to do so. I think this goes without saying, especially for the younger generation that may make emotional decisions associated with a relocation. Step 2, come to a definite decision. This is important. If you meet all the requirements, if you're eligible to apply for Paraguayan residency and you are certain you want to move to Paraguay, go ahead and do it. Certainty is everything in life, and it's very important that it feels right to you, and I believe you should follow your heart at all times. If you're second guessing yourself, if you're uncertain about the move or the process, whatever, you may not want to do it. Do it if you're certain about it, and maybe you need to meet some people, maybe you need to work with the right agency like us to create that certainty, because we simplify the process for you. But please be certain. Don't second guess yourself, because if you are in this process, you want to complete it. You don't want to start something and not finish it. Step number 3, budgeting. Budgeting is super important, not just when we go on a vacation, but also when we do relocate to a foreign country. Budgeting is one of the most important skills you can ever learn, not only for your business, but also for your personal life. If you can budget right, and if you can stay within your budget, then good things will happen. I have a special message for Generation C and Millennials, because you guys are young, especially Generation Z. You're like in your late teens, early 20s, mid 20s, and life is just starting for you. And maybe you made a good amount of money in crypto. Maybe you have some kind of online business that allows you to move overseas and start a new journey in the South American country of Paraguay. But let's say your income is a little bit unstable, it's unpredictable, you're uncertain about how much money you will make next month. You have a good amount of money coming in, and you can judge that, right, roughly, but you just don't know how much you will make each month. In this case, I recommend you to save up at least 6 months worth of living costs in Paraguay. So not back home, but in Paraguay. Whatever you believe you will need in Paraguay. Let's say you're going to spend $10,000 over the past 6 months, right? That's not a huge amount of money in Paraguay, but that comes down to about $1,600, $1,700, right? And you want to have $1,600 to $1,700 to live in Paraguay, right? That money goes to rent, goes to food, insurance, transportation, everything, right? Dining out. And if you have that money saved up in your bank account and you believe that that's the amount of money that you need, and how you verify that is by talking to expats in the region and simply ask them, hey, how much do you spend? But you can also go online and research how much does it cost to rent an apartment in Asunción, Paraguay, in Encarnación, Paraguay, and Ciudad del Este. Just look up all of this and get an idea of how much you will need. But I always believe that talking to people with first-hand experience exceeds any information you can find on the internet, because oftentimes the information is not accurate, it's not valid, and sometimes the people haven't even lived in the place, right? So if you come onto our channel, we give you first-hand experience in the places that we talk about. So for young bucks, 6 months worth of living expenses is advisable, for the simple reason that you just don't know how much money you will be making. And it's better to have more money not needed, to have money in your bank account not needed, than to have no money and have to return back home and restart the whole cycle, which would be rather unpleasant. And this is an outcome that you want to avoid at all costs. And you avoid it by strategic planning, smart budgeting, and being disciplined. If you're on a pension or Social Security, then it's pretty easy, because that's all the money you've got. If you're like a retiree and you have maybe like $1,000 to $2,000 in monthly income, then you know already that that's what you have, right? And if you have rental income, you have to ensure that that rental income will be consistent while you're gone. So maybe you need to hire a property manager back home. Maybe you can outsource it to a friend of yours or a family member, because when you're gone, there will be a long distance, so it's very important that you have someone reliable to manage your property. If you have only government income, then this is really the only thing that you've got, and if you have no intention to work in the future, then you want to live below your means in Paraguay just like you did back home, if that was even possible with that kind of pension, right? But it's really important that you live below your means and have a cushion, and just move to a place in Paraguay where you can afford life. Health insurance and healthcare, we all need it, and Paraguay is no exception. So when you first come to Paraguay, you can have an international insurance, international travel insurance. You can get that for a couple months or even a prolonged period of time, and there are different packages available. You can use Allianz or any international health insurance company that operates in Paraguay, that covers Paraguay, and I always believe it's better going with the higher premiums, because in the event that anything should happen, you will be fully covered, and you're spending a little bit of money to protect most of what you have, which is always an advisable move, because if anything happens to you in a foreign country and you don't have health insurance, you could run up huge hospital bills, even though healthcare in Paraguay is very affordable, but you just never know what might happen to you. That's my advice, and it's not very expensive. Hopefully nothing will happen, but again, insurance, right? You want to have insurance in life, and you want to do this for Paraguay as much as you do it for any other country. Once you're in Paraguay, you can get health insurance from a local private hospital. That's advisable, especially if your intention is to remain within certain neighborhoods for the majority of your stay in Paraguay. You just want to find a plan that works for you. Then of course, education. If you want to go to a Spanish school, or maybe you want to sign up for a different educational program, perhaps you want to send your kids to kindergarten or college, it's very important that you inform yourself about the educational opportunities in Paraguay. This is also something that we help our clients with. Let's say they have a family, they come to us, and we research educational programs, introduce them to schools that will enable their kids to resume education, hopefully at the same standard that they enjoyed back home. And there are quite a few international schools in Paraguay that your children can attend, and so we do help with that. It's just very important that you have all of this figured out before you come to Paraguay. Step 4, document preparation. Preparing your documents is very important. You want to make sure that you check all the boxes, because if you don't and you miss a document, you will have to redo the whole process, or you have to fly back home, potentially work with your consulate or embassy if they're able to help you. Not all of them can help you overseas. It's really important that you work with a professional relocation agency that knows what they're doing. They must do the process every single week. Why? Changes are happening all the time, and it's very important that you are aware of everything that you need, whether documents need to be legalized, and just the full picture. You need to be able to get everything done. You have to provide your criminal record certificate, birth certificate, passport, and potentially a few more documents from your native country before you can apply for residency in Paraguay. Additionally, you have to obtain further documents during your stay in Paraguay and prior to applying for Paraguayan residency. Step 5, document verification. Ensure to verify your documents before you come to Paraguay. The last thing that you want is to fly to Paraguay, have all these expenses, miss a document, and have to redo the whole process. It's very important that everything is being verified locally in Paraguay. What's very important is that if you had some kind of name change, that this is clearly communicated to the agency you will be working with, because in the event that that's not the case, and maybe something is overlooked or something is not stated, and it's really important that all documents are original and that they're legalized. You can't just show up with the government document, it must be legalized. That's very, 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 very important, and all documents have to be original. You can't show up with scanned versions. You can't just print out documents and show them to immigration. It doesn't work like this. You have to get original documents, and they must be legalized. What we do for our clients is that we ensure that before they leave their home country, that all documents are good to go, because again, there are certain instances where it may be more difficult. Let's say there was a name change, or in the event that there was a criminal conviction that was not mentioned, or maybe a document that was provided was not original. You want to be very mindful about the whole process and ensure that you work with a professional relocation agency like Nomad Elite that helps you with the entire process and ensures your success upon application. Step number 6, surrender residency. residency. This may be required if you want to move to Paraguay and make Paraguay your new home in the event that you are from, say, Canada or the US, the UK, or other countries that make it more difficult to surrender tax residency. There are just a number of things that you have to do before your current country of residency will let you go. And what I mean by let you go is that you don't have to pay taxes back to your current country of residency anymore. And some countries, they only let you do it if you have obtained tax residency in another country. Some countries, they allow you to do it. Even some Western countries, they allow you to leave your country of residency without having obtained residency in another country, but you have to follow the legal procedure of the country where you're located. And each country is uniquely different. And it's super important that you follow all the legal steps your country outlines to leave the tax net legally, because if you don't and you end up living in Paraguay but you haven't exited your country legally, then you may have to pay taxes to your old country of residency, even if you don't spend any more time there. It's very important that you don't make this mistake and that you get professional legal advice on the exact steps that you must complete before a successful tax exit may happen. Step 7, apply for Paraguayan residency. At this point, you have obtained all the documents from your home country and have verified them before coming to Paraguay, and you have also successfully obtained all documents that you must show locally in Paraguay. So there are many moving parts here. What is important now is that you apply for residency and are fully aware of all the residency requirements, processing time. So that's what we're going to focus on now. One thing that's important, and now we're talking about Paraguayan residency, it's very important for you to note that the first day of residency in Paraguay does not start at the moment you apply for residency. Paraguay is not very streamlined with this stuff. Paraguayan residency starts upon approval. So the moment you get approved, you will be getting a message from us and we will tell you, great, your Paraguayan residency has been approved and today is the first day that you are a resident of Paraguay. Great. From this point, from this moment on, you have 12 months to return to Paraguay, because Paraguay has a 1 day per year minimum stay requirement. You can't be out of the country for more than 365 consecutive days. You know, at the time that your residency has been approved, you must return to Paraguay within 12 months, or the Paraguayan authorities may revoke your Paraguayan residency, which would be very sad because you'd have to restart the whole process and apply for temporary residency again, which is something that you want to avoid at all costs. It's very important to be familiar with the residency requirements, maintenance requirements, at what point the conversion can happen, and this is where Nomad Elite comes in and simplifies the entire process for you to ensure your success in Paraguay. It is recommended to have at least 7 days for your trip, for the simple reason that sometimes there's a holiday. Well, it may only take 3 to 4 business days to complete the application process. If you come during a holiday, then you'd be standing in front of closed doors and you're losing a day or two, and let's say you only plan for 4 days, then that may not suffice to apply for Paraguayan residency. It's super important that you check all public holidays and that you come during a time where you have enough time and when there are no holidays. If you should have very little time, if you want to come for weeks or months, then it doesn't matter, but if you have very limited time available, then it becomes more important. When you work with Nomad Elite, we help you with the entire residency process. We also inform you about the legal requirements, and we do the temporary residency application for you. If you choose Nomad Elite, it's very important that you follow our instructions and we apply for your temporary residency, and then you can convert to permanent residency assuming that you meet all the requirements. It's going to be a separate application, and what's important to note here is that it must happen within 90 days of temporary residency expiration date. It can't be after the 2 years, because then the time would have elapsed and you'd have to redo the whole process, which is something you want to avoid, because you are going to lose 2 years and you have to redo it. It's a waste of money, so please don't do that. So you have 90 days before your temporary residency expires to file your permanent residency application in Paraguay. And this is something that we also help you with. If you choose us for temporary residency, then we will make it a lot cheaper for you to apply for permanent residency within 90 days of expiration date of your temporary residency. Step 8, completing your Paraguayan setup. Now that you have been been approved for Paraguayan residency. Congratulations, by the way. It is time to initiate the next steps. There are a couple of things that you must do to become a legal tax resident of Paraguay, and we're going to talk about these things now. So it's very important that you finish watching this video, because you don't want to miss out any of these super important steps, because you're probably not going to hear them from any other person on YouTube. Once you've been approved for Paraguayan residency, the next thing that you want to do is to apply for your Paraguayan identification card, also known as Cedula. This is a very important card that you're gonna need no matter what you do in Paraguay, and there's a lot of misinformation out there on the internet where some people claim that you can open up a bank account in Paraguay without having residency, without having a local ID. That does not hold true in most cases. In most cases, you must have a local ID unless you want to open up a very special account with a lot of money. And of course, that doesn't apply to average people watching this video unless you're a high net worth individual or some kind of investor, you have some kind of deal with the government, or you meet other certain requirements that would allow you to open up some kind of special account. You are gonna have to get residency and your Paraguayan ID to open up the bank account. Residency is step number 1, then the Paraguayan ID is step number 2, and then comes the rest. But you must get the Paraguayan ID to start your life in Paraguay. Without your Paraguayan ID, nothing is possible. Unless, again, you're in the small group of people where exceptions apply, but this does not apply to about 80% of people watching this video. It will take several weeks to get your Cedula. And it's very important that you apply for your Cedula legally. There's certain processes out there and companies that don't do it legally. I don't recommend that, where they get it right when you apply for residency. That is not recommended. That is not the legal path. Please don't do that, especially now that a lot of things are happening in Paraguay related to killing corruption. And so you don't want to get involved with this process. We're not involved with this. You have to wait. We do everything by the books. We do everything legal. We do everything legally, and it's very important that you don't get into any trouble with anyone just to find a shortcut. And another thing that you want to avoid at all costs is to use any backdoor options. There are no shortcuts in life, and I have seen many people that got the backdoor residency option and they were not allowed to enter the country. I've seen this in Mexico. I had personally spoken to people who this happened to. This is not made up stuff. It really happened to people just to get it faster or to have less paperwork, less process. No, it doesn't work like that. Everything that needs to happen legally, you have to do it to get your legal Paraguayan residency. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but this is the advice I'm giving you. I had to wait well over 90 days to get my Paraguayan residency, and you have to do the same, right? There are no shortcuts in life, and please do not engage with people that tell you otherwise. I had seen offers from people that claim they can do it in like a week or 2 weeks. It doesn't work like that, okay? And we are probably the largest. I'm very certain that we are the largest company that is doing this right now in Paraguay. We really are, and that's based on volume. Just seeing what's going on, we're the largest, okay? Which is great for us, but we're doing things legally, and that's why we'll stay in business for a long time, whereas other companies, they come and go pretty easily, and those companies you want to avoid working with at all costs. Once you have your Paraguayan ID, you can get your Paraguayan tax number. There's some really important considerations. You only get your Paraguayan tax number if you want to live in Paraguay and pay taxes in Paraguay. Why? There are certain things you need to do, and we're going to get to this in the next step. So make sure you finish watching this video. And once you've gotten your Cedula, you can also get your driver's license. And I always want to highlight the importance of getting your national ID card, because it is everything. You must get it. Get it first, then get the bank account, then get the tax number, the driver's license. So start with your national ID first. It's always the first step, the rest follows. Step number 9, getting Paraguayan tax residency. Now that you've completed the residency application, you've gotten your national ID, now it is time to get the Paraguayan tax number, also known as a RUC number, RUC. This number is very important because it allows you to report your income to the Paraguayan authorities, which will allow you to get tax residency in Paraguay. Super important. However, there are some requirements here. You have to file the report monthly, and you can do it yourself. You don't have to work with a professional firm like Nomad Elite. You can totally do it yourself. It is a service that we offer for a fee, obviously, but it is something that we do, and how much we charge totally depends on the number of transactions, depends on whether you have a personal tax number or a corporate tax number, and so there are many moving parts. But once you become a legal tax resident of Paraguay, it is absolutely mandatory that you file these tax returns, because if not, the government's going to come in and start stepping on your toes, and it's like, hey, what's going on? Why haven't you filed your taxes? Why haven't you reported any income? So that's why I'm saying it's important. if you're like, oh, I don't want to get Paraguayan tax residency, I just want to get the plan B, residency in Paraguay, good, do that. But if you want to become a tax resident of Paraguay, you want to comply to all local laws, or you may face very unhappy, very unpleasant surprises that you don't want to deal with, because Paraguay has a legal code just as much as any other country. While the Paraguayan authorities are much more lenient, they still have their legal code that must be followed by all tax residents of Paraguay. And step 10, networking. This is important because if you come to a new country, you want to have a comfort zone. You want to start building your inner circle immediately. You can start your inner circle by finding people locally in Paraguay, right? People hang out at the nicer neighborhoods. We're talking about Las Lomas, Recoleta, Villamora. If you go to any of these neighborhoods, you're going to see plenty of foreigners. You're going to see Americans, Canadians, Europeans, Australians. You're going to see Argentines. You're going to see Brazilians and people from all over the world, really. There's also a lot of Koreans now in Paraguay. So you want to start creating this inner circle because you want to have a comfort zone to fall back to, right? It's very important. You can possibly start out doing it online, but it's very important that you start doing it because oftentimes your happiness is predicated on the people you spend the most time with. The good thing about Paraguay is that Paraguay attracts a certain group of people that are fed up with certain things that are going on in the Western Hemisphere, people who are into crypto, people who run online businesses, all kinds of nomads are hanging out in Paraguay. You will have an abundance of people to have fun with, to hang out with, to have a drink with, to do sports with, to go out at night, whatever you want to do. You will have plenty of opportunities in Paraguay, but you've got to start building that inner circle. If you become a client of Nomad Elite, then we would introduce you to our other clients, and we have clients that come in all shapes and sizes from all different backgrounds, so you will meet an incredible amount of amazing people that have become our clients and have stayed our clients. It's very important that you join us because we will make introductions. We are also your go-to source for a lot of other things in Paraguay, whether you're interested in opening up a company, in tax minimization, or let's say you want to do certain things, you want to purchase real estate, you want to hang out with people. We can make these introductions, right? But we will make them for our clients, right? That's very important. So we are a company and we help our clients to prosper in Paraguay. And step number 11, stay compliant. I know I have stressed this in the residency step, especially when we're talking about tax residency. It's very important that you stay compliant because there's a legal code in Paraguay, so please stay compliant. And if you work with us, we will help you with all of this. We will tell you what you have to do and how to do it. And if you want to use our services, then you will be in good hands and we will do everything correctly and help you with the difficult things in Paraguay. If you're interested in obtaining a residence permit in Paraguay, please contact us. You should see our website displayed right on the screen. You can also click on the link below the video. We appreciate you. Thank you for watching this video and we see you in Paraguay.